Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to create an application to detect faces. Yes, we are going to detect faces on images and also in a live webcam feed. So when it comes to video processing or your live image processing, we just want to consider two important points here. One is the speed and the second is your accuracy. Because let's say if your webcam or your camera is having a 30 fps capability, so it's going to burst out 30 images per second. So you need to make sure that your application process 30 images per second and gives you the right output. If not, then you might feel a lag in your real-time activity. So and also if you make sure that the speed is good, we might even lose the accuracy also, because it is always a particular predicament to assume that if the accuracy increases, the speed might decrease. If the speed increases, there is a huge chance of reducing the accuracy. So we just want to make sure that we have a perfect trade-off between speed and accuracy. So how do we achieve that? So I'm going to investigate. I'm going to use a very old algorithm. I could say it's like 20 years old algorithm, but I could always say that it's one of the best algorithm which you can ever get for object detection, particularly for face detection. I could say that even right now, lot of researchers are actually using this object detection. The face detection technique, which was implemented by Weil and Jones on a topic known as Haar cascade classifier. Yes, you are actually viewing this very paper which they have published in 2001 in CVPR conference, rapid object detection using a boosted cascade of simple features. So we are going to use this particular algorithm, and a pre-trained model of this particular algorithm is going to be applied to our real-time face images, real-time webcam feed, and we are going to detect faces. Not only faces, will try to understand how to use the same approach to detect different objects. Let's say eyes, or even your entire human body and something like that. We'll try to understand this particular paper right now and see what are the theoretical concepts which they have applied to make this happen. So let us go into the paper right away. So here you can see the first point which we need to keep in mind is that the features. So Weil and Jones, what they've done is like they created different kind of filters. You can see different kind of filter which is available over here, right? So four kind of filters here. So likewise they have created different kind of filters, and they pass these filters onto the faces. So let's say if this filter is applied onto an image, let's say I have like six numbers, let's say 7, 8, and 9. This is 1, 2, and 3. So if this particular filter is applied to this particular image point, what we'll do is I will add these set of images, this set of numbers. Let's say 9 plus 8 plus 7 will give you 16, 24 as an addition. For this case, I'll be getting a value 6. So I'll be like subtracting this darker region with the brighter region. So obviously I'll be getting a value, let's say it's like going to be 18. So this will be the single output value for each and every filter. So for each and every filter, we will be having a single feature value. So likewise, we'll be applying these kind of filters onto the images to get number like this. So using this number, we'll try to detect the faces or even any kind of object detection. So extracting the information from here will help us to understand how does this object represent. But obviously, we will be like having lot of images that represents a face, and also lot of images that doesn't have a face, because our classifier relies on this data set. Positive data and the negative data. Okay, so but you could see that when I go for a, let's say a filter size of 24 cross 24, I might end up with lot of features, let's say more than 2 lakhs or even 1 lakh 60,000 features. So that's going to be huge, right? So because let's say if you want to create or take 1 lakh 60,000 feature for one image, imagine if you go for a real-time face detection, so it's going to be 30 fps. So 30 into 1 lakh 60,000 is going to be like very huge. We might have a lag in that. So in order to reduce this, in order to somehow reduce this possibilities, we not we this particular author have done a simpler approach on creating an integral image. So what is integral image? That's going to be the second point, because every time when I apply my kernel onto the images, I need to manually add the entire region of the of the brighter region and the darker region. I need to subtract that. So rather doing it, what these authors decided to do is like they created an integral image where they add all the numbers so that the last numbers can be utilized to subtract it. So let me give you an example. So this is my input image. It's going to be like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so when I going to create an integral image, it's going to be something like this. So one will be the same. Okay, so there will be like no difference. In order to, for this particular value, I'm going to add these two elements together. Okay, so it's going to be 3. And for this element, I'm going to add this, this element and this element. It's going to be 4. And for this value, I'm going to add 1, 2 plus 3. So it's going to be 6. So likewise, this integral image is going to be created. So let's say if I want to let's say if I apply this filter here, so obviously rather adding these two guys together, I can directly, get this, added value and subtracted right away, so that the complexity, the time required to compute this addition and subtraction will be reduced, humongously. So obviously I might get a huge boost of speed right now using this integral image. So that was a huge success, and they have, managed to get a good speed. But even though when they achieve this kind of speed, even though we have more features, let's say 1,60,000 features, yes, we might have a feeling in mind that are these 1,60,000 features are really important to detect a face? That's a big question mark. So that is where, I mean, Weiler and Jones decided to go and investigate how do we reduce these kind of features, because obviously we don't want these many number of features to detect a face. So that's where they introduced a concept known as ADA boosting. So let me give you an example to that. So let's say I'm going to take this kernel. So I could say that this kernel can definitely fit onto a face. Let's say the region of your eyes and your upper cheeks. So obviously the eyes will be like much darker than your upper cheeks, right? So irrespective of the complexion of your human faces, obviously the eye region will be like somehow darker than the upper cheek region. So I can definitely relate this to this particular kernel, right? So it's going to be black key and this is going to be like whiter somehow, when compared to that. So I could say that it's one of the important feature to detect this particular region. Likewise, if I use this feature, this kind of a filter, obviously the eyebrows will be darker, the center region between the eyebrows will be somehow brighter, right? So I could also relate this feature is also important, but I cannot use the same feature for some other place, let's say in the nose region or to the lips region. So obviously it's not that important when it comes to extracting features in these places. So obviously I might have a huge error rate when I use an irrelevant feature or irrelevant filter on different regions of the faces. So AdaBoost, as the name implies, it will focus on to the positive areas, right? So obviously what this AdaBoost algorithm will do is it will try to understand the filters that has a very very less error rate. So it's going to be a huge task for sure, because we have a lot of filters, lot of convolution filters are there. So we'll be like initially biasing with the equal number of weights. So as the epoch increases, as the iteration increases on the images of faces that contains faces and non-faces, the weights will be updated. The error rate will of each and every filters will be updated for sure. And based on that, it's going to like map propagate to, update some weights for the same. So obviously we are going to fine tune the filters which has a very very less error rate. So on this paper they have also mentioned that they have reduced the number of features from 1,60,000 to just 6,000 features. So they say with just 6,000 features I could create a very very perfect face detection or even any kind of an object detection technique. So that's the claim which the authors have did. So even they say even with the help of just 2,000 features they could even create a decent face detection algorithm. So that's how this AdaBoost technique actually boosted the speed by reducing the false, negative filters, right? Because those many filters are not required to me. So that is the, biggest area where they have somehow, reduced the time taken to a very, very lesser extent. And finally, what they've done is like they went for this attentional cascade. So where they've done is, where they've done a technique where, let's say if I apply a filter onto a face, let's say let us take this particular image. So if I apply this particular filter in this area, okay, or maybe let's say the image is like little bigger. So if I apply the filter in this area, obviously this area doesn't contain a face. So obviously I might not get the right number that doesn't represent a face for sure. So obviously I don't want to waste the time by pushing down all the filters in this region again and again to waste my time. So obviously what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this region, I'm going to skip this region, I'm going to skip this region. I'm going to focus on to the region where I might have a potentiality to detect the face or not. So obviously the entire steps will not be followed through. right? So obviously I'm going to like skip down regions when I don't find some promising features on that particular area. So I'm going to focus on the areas where my features are actually giving me a positive sign, so that I might even reduce more time. Focusing, not on the phases, not on the region that doesn't contain phases, but onto the region that has phases. So this will skip down a lot of computations and a lot of filters. So obviously this also created a huge boost to the speed and making sure the accuracy is not been, what is it? It's not been reduced at all. So this is how Wyland Jones, created this wonderful algorithm to detect phases in real time. So it's not only phases in real time, you can do any kind of phase, any kind of object detection for sure. So, but in this example, I'm going to show you how to create a phase detection technique. So I'm not going to create my own R cascade classifier because that's going to be a tedious task to me. So I'm going to use the predefined model which is already available in the OpenCV library. So that's what I'm going to use, and let us try to understand how do we deploy it in real time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google Colab as usual. So I believe that you know about Google Colab. If not, just check to the description of this particular video. You will get a link to understand what is Google Colab and how to utilize GitHub and combining, like let's say linking between GitHub and the Google Colab. So I'm going to go to the GitHub tab right away. I'm going to go to my repository Deepan Raj here, inside which I'm going to go for this particular repository Deepan Raj slash machine learning, inside which just go and scroll down a bit to get this particular file, OpenCV slash face detection slash face detection dot ipython notebook. So I'm going to go there, open it here, so let it load. So we are not going to like look onto these features. So this is a typical example on this particular integral image. So I've already like taught you. So let's not waste time in the theoretical part again. Let's go to the actual implementation right away. So first things first, I'm going to clone my GitHub repository here because I just want to grab few images to detect phases onto those images. Okay, so let me clone my GitHub repository. So it might take a little time to connect in the beginning. Once it is done, it's going to be super fast. So it is taking some time to initialize. Yes, it will start to clone the entire GitHub repository of machine learning in my profile. So we'll see the entire contents here shortly once it is cloned. So you can see the entire machine learning repository is like is here available right now. So I'm going to use this particular face detection technique. So inside which I have three images. One image that shows uh, Messi, Lionel Messi, MS Dhoni, and Obama. So let's see like how these images are utilized and how the features have been detected accurately. Okay, so first things first, what I did is like I just uninstalled the latest version of OpenCV because the code which I've created is like pretty old, I could say that. So it is actually deployed in the version 3.4. So I decided to go for the same version to avoid problems. So if you feel like if you want to use this OpenCV 4, yes, you can be my guest. Just want to make some minor tweaks in the functions. So, but for now, let us stick with this particular version 3.4.2.16. Yes, any version which is not 4 and above 3, so you can maintain 3.2 or 3.1, 3.3, 3.4, whatever the version it might be. So don't go above 4 and don't go below 3. Okay, so that's the thing which I want to keep in mind. So now I'm going to like import some few packages here. So one is going to be imutils. So imutils is going to be utilized to let's say this particular library is going to be used to detect images in a particular directory. Okay, so I'm going to call this particular function parts, and that will help me to detect images in a particular directory, like list down the images in a particular directory. So OpenCV is going to be the important candidate in this particular application because we're going to use it to apply our cascading techniques. So and also, since we already know that OpenCV CV2 IM show is not available in Google Colab because it's a IPython notebook. So Google Colab has given a patchwork for it so that we could use this function and in this notebook also. So I'm going to import this packages right away right now. So once that is done, here comes the important part. So here you can see I have called the function cv2.cascade classifier. So this is going to be the function call that's going to load my hard cascade classifier model. So it's going to be in the format of XML file, so which is also available here. You can see cascades folder, and inside cascade folder you can see hard cascade frontal face uh, interface default.xml. So I will show you where this from which area I took this particular classifier in few couple of minutes. So we'll get started with, let's say I'm just going to load this particular hard classifier for now into the object. I'm going to create an object detector right now. Okay, so I'm also mentioning the path where my images are present. So it's going to be inside machine learning slash OpenCV slash face detection slash images. So which is typically here. Okay, so now I'm going to use this function. So let me first load the contents here. Yes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the function path. I mean, let's say the paths function from IAMutils to use the particular attribute list images. This particular function will list down all the images which is inside this particular directory image parts. So I'm going to make it as a list. I'm going to sort the entire path so that it can be like enumerated one by one. So I'm going to use a for loop so that I can go to images one by one. Okay, so let me go for the first image. So the first image path will be given here. I'm going to use a function cv2.imread to read that particular image, and I'm going to store in this particular object frame. So first things first, I'm going to convert this image into grayscale. Okay, so I'm just converting this image into grayscale using this function cv2.cvt color. The first parameter is going to be your image. The second parameter is going to be the conversion factor. So there are like multiple conversion factors which is available here. So, but I've decided to go for the grayscale part so that it's relevant. I mean, it is not required to detect a face. We need a color image. So grayscale image will do the trick for us. So I'm going to convert BGR to gray. So that is done. And then I'm going to use this function detector.detect multiscale. So this is going to be the important function that will help us to detect face at multiple scale factors. Because one important thing which you need to keep in mind, let's say if I have an image, if I have a, I mean, camera which is very close to my face might be very bigger to the given image. If the camera is very farther apart from my face will be like much smaller. So if I apply hard cascade classifier on these two images, I might have difficulties in detecting faces because it's very close and this is very far. Because we should have a perfect, I mean, strategy. Let's say as a medium size face in a given image. So our cascade classifier might find it little difficult to detect face in this region. So we decided to go for a technique known as image pyramid, where we try to rescale these images, I mean, to a little smaller and smaller so that the features can fit it in the right place. So making sure the small face can also be detected in the image and even the bigger face can also be detected in the given image. So that's where this detect multiscale came in first place. So the parameters which I've used is like the input image and then the scale factor. So this is going to be the scale factor where I'm going to reduce the dimensionality of the images after one pass. Let's say if it is 1.05, I'm going to reduce the size to 5% after each and every input pass. So minimum neighbors is going to be 5. So it's nothing but, I mean, the minimum neighbors which is required into a particular bounding box. So a best value which I can say is like 4 to 6. If I give a higher value, I might have a, I mean, a very good possibility of detecting the right face, but I might even miss few phases. So that's the problem. So higher the value, higher the quality of detecting face, but there is a problem like sometimes we might even miss few phases which is not that, I mean, good in that particular image. So typically having 4 to 6 as a number might be the right, I mean, ideal number for detecting phases. That's one. And the next parameter which I've used is the minimum size. So minimum size for an object to be detected. So let's say if the size of the face is like, let's say in the above 30 cross 30, then I might have a possibility of detecting that particular object. If not, I'll be neglecting it out because going behind 30 cross 30 is going to be like very small. I might even falsely detect that particular object. So I'm going to neglect image sizes or the detected object size in which is actually lesser than 30 cross 30. So here I'm going to use the scale technique to, I mean, somehow reduce my, I mean, I'm going to apply this cascading technique, right? So I'm going to apply that particular cascading technique using this function. So these are the parameters which I've used. Even we do have multiple parameters inside this direct multiscale attribute, I mean the function. But let's stick with these parameters because these parameters are more than enough to do the face detection. Okay, so now once this particular function is called, okay, so this face rex will get the bounding box information of number of, I mean, faces which is detected in the particular image. So I'm going to loop into faces one by one. Let's say if my image contains multiple faces, I might get multiple bounding box information. So I'm going to loop into one by one I mean phases one by one. Okay, so in that case, I mean this phase should contain four information: x, y, w, and h for that particular bounding box. Let's say I have x comma y. If I have w, it's going to be this region. If I get h, it's going to be this area. So if I combine this together, I can get this point also. So I get 4 points, so I can easily draw the bounding box for that particular detected object. So that's what is done here. So I got all this x, y, w, h from the face x, and I try to construct a rectangle here. Okay, so we know for drawing, you can use this function cv.rectangle. The first parameter is going to be the image. The second parameter is going to be the starting point. This is going to be this region. The third parameter is going to be the ending point. It's going to be x plus w and y plus h. So this is going to be the color of the particular rectangle, and this is going to be thickness. So it's going to be in the format of pixels. So 3 pixel thickness is going to be given for the detected face. Okay, so this format is going to be BGR. So OpenCV, process information in the format of BGR. So the bounding box is going to be in the color of blue. Okay, so now I'm also calculating the number of phases which is detected. So let's say len of phases, because I might have multiple phases, right? So I'm going to show how many phases are detected in the given image. So I'm going to calculate this number of phases by using the command len of phase select, because I'm going to see the length of the particular list, and I'm going to like store in the number of phases variable. Okay, so now I'm going to use another command to show how many phases are detected in the same image itself. So I'm going to use a command cv2.put text. So that's going to write a text onto my image. So the first parameter is going to be the image. The second parameter is your string. So here kept a mandatory, a constant string here, like face detected hyphen, and I'm going to like pass this number of face information. So I'm going to just converting this information into string, so that we can concatenate this constant string with the variable string. Okay, so variable number. So once this is going to be the values or the text which is going to be print onto the particular image, and after that this is going to be the starting points. Let's say if this is my image, if I give 30 cross 50, this is the point where my text is going to start. So I'm not going to have any end point, because that is entirely dependent on the length of my particular string. Okay, so I'm just decided to go with the starting point alone, and this is going to be the font style, this is going to be the font size, the color, and the thickness in pixels, and finally I'm going to show the image into the given frame. Okay, so that's it. So let us try to run this particular part, and let's see how the faces are detected. Okay, so you can see that in the first image there are two phases which is detected here. So the phase detected is going to be number 2, and all these two phases have been detected correctly. The next image you can see it is MS Dhoni, so one phase is detected. You could see there is like variable sizes, right? This image size is very small and this image is a little bigger. So that's why we use this multi-scale detection technique, so that we will not be losing any phases because of the size of the given image or the size of the face. So even in this given image, it's like medium sized image where we have three phases, and it is detected perfectly, given to us. So this is how we detect phases using Haar cascade classifier. So I believe that you got the fullest idea about how to do that in real time. So now let us try to utilize the same approach but using a webcam feed. So let us go to the program right away. So here you can see I have already stored the cascade here. Okay, so Haar cascade frontal face default XML is already stored here, so I can directly go to the program. So what I've done here is like everything is going to be the same. There'll be like no much of a difference here. So only like two functions have been used, because in Google Colab we don't have the CV2 function, so we have to import that extra function there. But in this case, just two functions is enough. So as usual, I'm just going to load the classifier, but I just want to give the right path here, because since it is inside the directory cascades, so you can see it's inside the cascades folder, right? So cascades slash Haar cascade. So since it is Windows, we might be using double slashes here. Okay, so keep that in mind. So now I'm going to take the webcam feed. So the 0 represents the image, the camera position. Let's say if you have a default web camera, it's going to be 0. If you have two cameras, you can switch between those two cameras using the numbers 0 and 1. Okay, so I'm going to like create an instantiate an object with this particular function to get the object. Let's say get the control of the camera. So I'm going to create a while loop here, because I'm going to go real time, like capturing frames one by one till I make it stop. So I'm going to create a while loop here, and then I just use this command camera.read. So this is going to be the object which I've instantiated here. So I'm going to use this command camera.read to get this particular frame, the particular frame which is actually grabbed from the webcam. So this frame contains the entire image information, and this grabbed is a Boolean value where it shows whether the frame have been grabbed or not. So that will be very useful sometimes. Let's say if your camera is not working fine, if you accidentally unplug your USB or your webcam out of your system. So on that time, this particular value, the Boolean value, will become false. So I'm just making sure that I don't break my model abruptly, right? So I just made sure that if nothing is there, if not of grabbed, I'm going to break this while loop. If not, I'm going to proceed. So our next thing is like this is an additional step in this particular application because we are going to go in real time. That's one thing, and also I just don't want to waste the resource, right? So resizing the image to 500 is like pretty decent because this is more than enough to detect the faces. So I just resize the image to 500 so that the processing might take lesser time to to do, because previous example it's on images, so we don't consider on the time at all. But when it comes to real time feed, this is very important. So and the next thing is I just convert the image into grayscale as usual, and here it is also the same here. Face Rex, direct face, direct multiscale, and everything is the same here as mentioned in the previous example. So everything is going to be the same. The only difference is like this particular part. So what I'm doing is like I'm just showing the current frame, but since this is the actual function in OpenCV actually, so you can see I'll be creating a window in the name of frame, and I'm going to project this particular image information there. But in Google Colab, it's going to be a little different because I'm not going to give any window here because it's an already an embedded window, so I don't want to create a window here. So that's the only difference here. And then I'm just going to use the command cv2.wait key of 1. So this is nothing but each and every window will wait for 1 millisecond. Okay, and this has a special attribute on detecting the key presses from our keyboard. So this 0 of 0 xff is nothing but a value, a 8-bit value, which has just values 1 1 1 1 1 1 of 8 ones altogether. So whenever I press the button Q, let's say a button Q, I'm going to get a response. Let's say the ASCII value of this particular button Q is going to be in the it's going to be in 32-bit format. So all I want to do is I just want to get the last 8-bit so that I can say whether if I press the button Q or not. Because in the next line you can see if the key value is equal to the ASCII value of Q, I'm going to break it out. So what I do here is like I just go for the 8-bit version so that I just multiply this 8-bit number with the 32-bit number. So obviously I'll be getting the last 8-bit number as the output because I just use this. I'm just comparing with the small Q value here. So the last 8-bit of the small Q is going to be compared with the key which I've pressed in the keyboard in real time. So making sure that if I want to quit the window, if I want to quit the application, I can just simply press the button Q to break my application. Because if I didn't do this, we might stuck at a point where we can't even close the window, where we can't even close the application. So that should not be the case, right? So we should have a control on to it. So that's what I've done here. So once after this loop is ended, I'm going to release the camera because I just don't want to hold the resources because some application might use it out. So and also I'm destroying all the windows which is detected. So because you can see that we are actually processing image by image, not the video, but image by image. So that's a huge difference. So I might have multiple windows here. So I'm just trying to destroy all the windows at the end of the program. So that is how, these are the small changes which you want to do if you want to use your webcam feed in your system to detect faces in real time. So let me go to the command prompt and so I will show you the important packages which you want to install. So all you want to do is just go to the command prompt and just type pip install cv2 or sorry opencv hyphen python. If needed, you can also mention the version 3.4.2.1, something like that. Okay, so that's one, and also install imutils. So inside your, let's say if you have Anaconda prompt, you can use there. If you install Python, you can also use the Python environment. So no matter what, all you want to do is just install these two packages, and you are good to go with this particular program. Okay, so since I've already installed, I can directly show you the output right away. So now let us try to execute this code. Just open a command prompt or your Anaconda prompt, whatever it might be. So open it just like that and just copy this path, copy this directory where you positioned this particular programs. Just type the command cd space and the path. So just right click your mouse, it will automatically paste the command. So now you can see I have tried to traverse to this path, but the path is not changed yet because I'm in this C drive, but the part that is in D drive. Windows will not allow you to, go between different partitions. So you want to manually mention that you are going inside D drive. So if I give it, you can see the path have been changed here. So as I already have this virtual environment with me, so I just enter into the virtual environment, which is not mandatory for you, but yes, you can use it out. Let's say if you want to maintain separate projects with different library versions. Okay, so now let us type the command python space detect.py because that is the program name which is given here, right? So I'm just going to type python space detect.py. If you have anaconda prompt, you can use that. If you have idle, you can also use that to run this particular program. So even IDs like PyCharm, your VS Code, there are like Spider, like there are like multiple IDs which is present. So it's up to you to decide. So I decided to go for a standard way of doing things. So I'm just use a command prompt to do it out. So I'm just going to hit enter, and now you can see the face will be detected just like that. So you can see even if I move my face much faster, it's detecting really great. So if let's say if I like move this region alone, like let's say it will obviously will not detect the face because there's an important portion in my face which is missing, so my cascade is actually skipping away. So that's important, right? So you can see, there is no lag at all in my given video feed, so it's like much faster, much accurate, and even faster in the real time node. So this is how we detect faces in real time. So let me quit this and let me show you another example. Okay, so and also let me show you where this particular object detection XML file is present. So if, let's say if you have installed your Python or your Anaconda, so just go to that particular area. Let's say I've installed Anaconda, I have virtual environments here and there. So this is how you get, right? So this is the folder path which you'll be getting if you have installed Python or Anaconda whatsoever, right? So this is going to be the same. So I'm just go to the folder lib side packages, inside which search for CV2. So this is where the CV2 is present. So the path is going to be lib and side packages, inside which I'm going to go for the folder name CV2, inside which go to the folder named data. Here you can see there are like multiple har cascade classifier which is present. So it's going to you can see har cascade eye, high glasses, frontal face. There are like multiple default cascades are actually present here in the OpenCV library itself. So you can use those XMLs to detect these kind of objects. So I have taken the liberty of taking this iXML model file also. So I'm going to like do like two detection right now. Okay, so I'm going to use the same program but just added few lines of code to detect the eyes region also. So I have loaded this XML file here, and then after that you can see the like too much of a big difference. So this is where I've added the eye detection part. So once the face is detected, I'm going to apply the eye detection on the detected face because I don't want to waste my time in detecting eyes if I don't detect the face. So obviously I'm going to do that. So I'm going to detect the face. I'm going to apply eye detection on the detected face alone. Okay, so even if you want to create a much precise application, what we can do is I can crop this region and I can push that area alone to my eye detection. So in that way also it's going to be like much accurate. So anyways, for now I just detect the face and I detect the eye region, and I'm going to show it in the same window. So like drawing different rectangles. So here you can see I've drawn a blue rectangle for face and a green rectangle for eyes. So let us try to run this particular program. Okay, so I'm going to copy this path, go to the command prompt, cd space in the path, python space detect.py is going to be the same. So let us try to run it. So you can see, the face and the eyes are detected, but I can see like there are like minor, flickering of, let's say, here and there, like some negative information is also being gathered here. So if I like take my glasses out, it's like much more clear and even perfect, right? So it's because of the image clarity. That's point number one, because I do have some noises present here and there. So what I can do is I can even like crop this particular face region and push this face region to my to detect the eyes, so that it might be like little effective in detecting eyes. And also I should make sure that it just removes some noises. So I need to make sure the image quality is good, because the camera which I use is just 720 pixel, which is actually enough, but due to some added noises here, so it is actually not detecting, it is like giving me a lot of false positives. So what I can do is I can even, let's say I can give a region of interest, let's say a ratio to my eyes. So if the bounding box is bigger than a particular ratio, I might neglect in detecting that. So you can take this as a challenge to apply this kind of fixes to this program, and you can post it in my comment section. So you can post your GitHub profile in my comment section, and let's see like who does it much better than the program which I given. So you can also get this particular program in the GitHub section of my profile, Deepan Rajyam. The link is in the description. You can use it out. So this is how you do an object detection using R Cascade Classifier. If you like this video, just give a thumbs up to my video, and do try to share it as much as you can to your friends who is actually looking for this particular application. Until then, peace out. Thank you.